We're here with Jesse James Garrett. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to jump right into the first question. What are the primary reasons that UX research gets ignored?
Reasons UX research gets ignored. Well, there are a number of different reasons. I think the biggest one is that you often have stakeholders who have a hard time. You often have stakeholders who have a hard time with accepting ideas that are contrary to their own.
Yeah.
And they are happy to accept the research when it confirms what they already thought. But when the research tells them something that goes against that, then they often will go hunting for reasons to take the research down or to dismiss it. And so I think one of the biggest challenges for researchers is to find ways to communicate research that are not threatening.
Okay.
But even beyond that, I think ways to communicate research that help bring people along and help them really kind of get comfortable with the ideas and get them to a place where they can embrace the ideas without feeling threatened by them.
So when you say not being threatening, is that the language that we should use?
I think it's partly the language. I think it partly has to do with structuring the presentation of the research findings. I think a lot of researchers really neglect the fact that when they are presenting research findings, what they really are doing is telling a story about users and their experiences. And storytelling, narrative, requires you to think carefully about how you structure that story and how you lay out the different components of that story, how you tell that story. And so I think that it's really valuable for researchers to ensure that their work does have an influence and impact on the design of the product, that they really make sure that their storytelling about the users and their experiences is really sharp.
Right. And why is it so hard for people to agree to do research, even to begin with? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is that same thing that that stakeholders often feel like we know everything we need to know about our users, or that they assume that their users are just like themselves. I think another thing is that the nature of user experience is something that's kind of abstract.
Yeah.
It is often subjective, and it seems like the kind of thing that a research study sometimes feels to the business owners like it's not really going to give them something tangible and really defensible in terms of a direction to take the product. That it's going to be this sort of this cloud of insights that don't really suggest a strong strategic direction for the product design. And so again, I think that there's a storytelling and a salesmanship required on the part of the researcher to help the product managers or business owners or other stakeholders to understand how this is going to directly connect to the choices that they make about the direction of the product and the choices that they make about the design, to help them feel confident about the concreteness of it, that it's not going to be a waste of time and money, but is going to be something that is going to really drive the direction of the product going forward.
The way I relate to what you just said is by I'm always trying to identify knowledge gaps that they have not something that I invent or estimate. And then we translate these together into questions that we call research questions.
Yeah.
And then my report, my presentation, whatever it is, the way that I choose to communicate the results are answers to the questions that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just to make them, understand that this is directly relates to the decisions they're trying to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a key part of it.
What do you recommend to startup teams in very early stages who want to have excellent design?
Well, startup teams are operating under some pretty special and significant constraints. The resources that they have available to them, the mandate to scale, which is, every startup is in the same position of, to get enough users and enough revenue fast enough before their seed funding runs out, right? And so it's always this kind of racing the clock to try to get something going, and that is that's not a recipe for really thoughtful and considered design necessarily, because there's so much pressure. And so really I think that for startups it has to be about lots and lots and lots of iteration, and being willing to change your mind about things in response to how you see people interacting. There are, and I think that this is an area where we, with regard to research, haven't done a good enough job of really clearly articulating methods that allow small teams with limited resources to get significant insights. We've got a lot of really robust and mature methods for weeks-long or months-long research projects that deal with established products and services in established product categories that are trying to serve a large-scale user base. We've got a lot of great methods for doing that kind of work, and there's a lot of value in doing that kind of work. Those methods don't necessarily scale down to the challenges that startup teams face, and so there's a lot more that I think the field of user experience and the field of UX research can do to try to develop better tools for these more focused problems.
I have other questions, but I want to talk about this.
Okay, sure. Yeah, sure.
So some of my colleagues around the world are terrified by the thought that people who are not qualified to do research will do research. So what are some things, I don't want to call them methodologies because they're not necessarily considered as such by startup teams. What are things they can do in terms of research, and what are things they shouldn't do, that they should really hire someone to do for them?
Oh, interesting. That's a good question. I'm not sure I have a good answer, honestly,
me too.
Because it's one of these things where I think it is as much about mindset as it is about methods. I think that what makes a good researcher is somebody who, like you were saying, can identify the right questions to ask and really listen to the answers that they get to those questions, and really try to be true to what the data is telling them. And that is not so much a matter of methodology as it is a matter of your attitude and your approach that you bring to doing the research work. And so that seems like the kind of thing that startup teams could be educated on and be able to instill in their practices. Certainly there is a level of logistical complexity to employing certain kinds of methods, especially any kind of, again, large-scale field research.
Mm-hmm.
But, and those are the kinds of things that you really want somebody who has some experience doing that, to do that for you. But in the case of startups, I don't know necessarily that, that they are going to have a strong need for those kinds of methods.
All right. What is the most basic advice you can give a UX practitioner who is dealing with stakeholders who don't understand or respect the UX research process?
Dealing with stakeholders who don't understand or respect the UX research process. I think it goes back to what I was saying before about salesmanship and storytelling. Being able to connect what you're doing to the things that those people care about. To help them understand that this new and alien world of UX research is actually a tool to help them achieve the same goals that they've always had. For themselves, for their organizations, for the products and services that they're responsible for. I'm not sure if there is a universal thing that you can say that will always work to convince people. Because I think that what it's about is, we often talk about the research function as building user empathy in organizations. I think that in order for researchers to sell their work effectively, they have to develop a similar kind of empathy for the people in the business and kind of study them as if they were users and really try to understand their point of view.
Yeah, I hear that from many people. Can you tell me a story about a difficult stakeholder? You don't have to name names.
A story about a difficult stakeholder.
Yeah.
There are so many. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that I'm mentally blocking out the difficult stakeholders that I was never able quite to get through to. But I do remember having a senior business owner who just was really very far removed from anything user experience and did not really understand why we were doing what we were doing or why he was even getting invited to meetings. And we managed to get some time to sit down with this person and just over lunch show him a little bit of video of user testing of the product. And it was such a powerful thing because it was like you could see the light bulb go off as to why this was important as he was watching customers struggling to use the product. There's that connection with the emotional dimension of the experience that was missing in all of the presentation decks and the written reports that he'd seen that just completely turned him around on the whole thing. And so that was a really memorable experience for me in terms of finding a way to connect with somebody who was really disconnected from the process.
Many UX practitioners get emotional when they negotiate with their stakeholders. They feel underappreciated and frustrated. What can you recommend to these people?
Boy, I know that feeling. I definitely know that feeling. I think that for those of us who do this kind of work, the value of it is so obvious. And a lot of the frustration and the sense of being underappreciated comes from the when you deal with someone else who doesn't have that intuitive understanding of the value of the work. And so I think that it's about slowing down and being patient and helping them understand the value. It's difficult to detach yourself from it emotionally, because I think that a lot of the people who do this kind of work, it is they're drawn to it because it is like part of their personality, is that they want to understand people, they want to help organizations understand people, they want to make products that connect with people more effectively. UX practitioners are very passionate about the work that they do, because it really is, I think it comes from somewhere deep inside them. The impulse, the desire to do this work, and for me, definitely, it has been a long, slow process of understanding where that passion is serving me well, and where I need to relax and let go a little bit in order to keep it from getting in the way of accomplishing what I want to accomplish, and to be able to pull back and think a little bit more rationally and a little less emotionally about how to communicate that value that I see so naturally to people who aren't like me. And that's what UX is all about, right? Is about connecting with people who aren't like us.
These are all the questions I have for you. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, this has been really great.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.